What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Down Under's BRODIE. We have been episode number 3. We have reached episode number 3. Really amazing job that we've been getting through all these episodes, and I cannot wait to continue doing this with you. But how was your weekend, my brother? I know we went through a massive weekend of footy and all that. Tell us stories. How'd you go over the weekend? And what were your thoughts over the games over the weekend?
Yeah, look, it was definitely a tough one for tippers, that's for sure. But we went to a couple of games. So we went to the Friday night game, Storm Dolphins, outstanding game, and then we went to the Warriors Titans. Not so much of an outstanding game, but over the weekend as a whole, it was a tough weekend for a punter. But there was a couple of good games. It's always tough when there's only the 5 games instead of the 8. Makes a difference to the weekend for sure. So. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, to touch on also, guys, do tune in, continue to hold out until our Punters Paradise. We'll go through how our tips did over the weekend. We'll get through all that sort of stuff. Obviously, it wasn't the best tipping weekend for everyone, but also we'll go through, State of Origin. We'll get to all that sort of stuff, guys. But I thought let's first start on the first game of the weekend that we got to watch. And obviously, me and Brody got tickets to some Dolphins games this year, so we could go to the Dolphins Storm. We're planning to go to the Dolphins Warriors, all that sort of stuff. But this was our first game of that little tickets that we have going on. It's the Dolphins versus the Melbourne Storm. 30-24, the Melbourne Storm get it done again at Suncorp. Their record at Suncorp's absolutely incredible. But fair credit to the Dolphins. I feel like they really hung in all the way to the end, had opportunities at the end to almost pip the game. Jack Howarth, man, how one-on-one strip motion, to pretty much put every Melbourne fan nearly just had a heart attack in that moment. But what were your thoughts, bro, on both these sides here? Maybe more so the Melbourne Storm to touch with first, then we'll go through our thoughts of the Dolphins. What were your thoughts on Melbourne?
Yeah, look, it's just a typical Melbourne season they're having really at the moment. It's just they find a way to get it done. No matter the task in front of them, no matter what they're up against, they chip away. And I think the Dolphins were really resilient, especially losing, Bostock very early. It was funny watching the fans up in arms, complaining for a penalty when he was making the tackle. Anyway, we won't go there. No, just typical Storms, bro. Is that one fan. But anyway, look, Melbourne, just typical class. They don't stress, they don't threat. He was really back and forth. I think it was. I don't think there was 2 tries scored in a row by any team. I think it was just. 1-for-1 off memory, but Melbourne doing enough to get the job done there, even though, they nearly did lose it. But the Dolphins really showed that they're the real deal. And I think, it really separates them from that bottom maybe 10, the 10 outside. It really shows that the Dolphins are in for a long season this season. So, and just, the return of Pappy was so much for the Storms. He was outstanding. If you picked him up on Supercoach, I don't think you should worry too much about the scoring that he got. He does so much work off the ball that you don't get to see on the TV. Whereas when you're watching him live, the amount of cover he had at the back is just unreal. But with that said, he also pulled up a little bit injured. I know we're jumping into a little bit more than just how they went, but there was news that Pappy might have a heel injury and potentially be out this week. He's going to see how he gets through training. So that might be a little setback for Melbourne. But I'd love to see them full strength considering what they're doing without being full strength at the moment. So, but what was your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, bro, legit, it's fairly similar to what you thought, bro. It felt like a very back and forth game. There was moments where, as I said, the inside joke that me and Brody have, we were in the Dolphins fan section, and we just see that one Dolphin fan, and there's always one in every side. I think there's a lot more than just one, but bro, legit, every moment he could, he's flipping off all the Storm players. He's calling out penalties left, right, and center. Was it a Jack Bostock tackle that he knocked himself out with? Old mate was jumping up and trying to search for a penalty and going, "Where's the penalty, ref? Where's the penalty?" I was like, "What's going on?" He knocked himself out. But
he's getting behind your team for sure.
Oh, that's a whole different level to get behind your team. But as you know, bro, I can get like that sometimes, but that was on a whole different level. He was calling out fours too. I've never seen a guy celebrate like this, bro. Like, it was on a different level. But with the game, bro, like, you know, at Bapi, bro, I think the Barpy was incredible in that game. How many try-saving efforts did he had? And he almost had another one that Jermaine Osako ended up getting over as well. Remember the chase down he had to catch him?
Yeah. Very,
he
very
came
tested
from
out
the
that
other
ankle.
side of the field, bro. Like unreal. It really tested out that injury, that leg injury coming back into this one. But unfortunately, as you did touch on, it does look like he might be ruling himself out this weekend too with the foot niggle and that. But what this also means is Sua Fa'alongo will probably get another shot in that fullback jersey. And bro, he's been so electric. Like he had that one moment in that game. Unfortunately, got brought back as an obstruction, which we both looked at each other and went, bro, like, you know, it took away from one of the craziest, like, we don't see a lot of in-goal escapes anymore like that.
No, you really
ever
don't.
Since one of your favorites, you know what I mean? Or Benny Barber.
Yeah. We won't go there. It's still getting over that one.
Yeah. But it was a touch of that, right? Like the goosey, the outside, and he was gone for all money. I don't think anyone was going to be catching him at that point. If there was a hammer playing on the field, it would have been an interesting foot race. But overall, really, like the Melbourne Storm just keep learning how to win games. The only thing you worry about Melbourne is they're still conceding a decent ton of points, like, you know, 24 points again this weekend with the Dolphins. But I think that's more credit on the Dolphins. Like as Wayne Bennett said in his presser after the game, like I felt like they lost time. Like they didn't have enough time to get over the top of it. Like they felt like they were on the momentum at the end of the game, and if they had a little bit more time, they probably would have got there. And I think there's some credibility to that thought as well, but also Melbourne just being so professional and classy. They know what to do an 80-minute performance to get a win, no matter what happens at the end of the day. So, but incredible game. Any more you really want to touch on with the Dolphins there? Isaiah Qatar, what were your thoughts on Isaiah Qatar? Because I know you're a halfback. You know, when you're playing footy and stuff like that, you watch a lot of the halves in the competition. Like his growth this year, man, like he is incredible. He's so composed for such a young halfback. Like what were your thoughts there too? Like especially being a halfback, watching what he does in the game. Like
he's been absolutely outstanding, and that's just, you know, typical Wayne Bennett fashion to get the best out of his players. And I think he's going absolutely great this year. I think him and Hughes are definitely the informed halfbacks of this season. It really was the split for me who got the job done with the victory of who actually is halfback of the year today. So yeah, he's great. It's great to see. He just takes it all in. If he does make any errors, you know, there is a little bit of an error in his game potentially, like with an off kick or whatever, but he doesn't let it get him down. The next play, he's got the ball back in his hands. He wants to make that right. And he's a big body at half as well. So he's going to be great under the new coach next year as well. But I think Bennett is definitely getting the best out of him. And I think he's definitely a real leader of that team at such a young age. So, yeah, he was really excited about Jeremy Marshall-King re-signing as well. So, I think that they're going to continue to build on that combination next year as well. But with that said, you know, that's typical Wayne Bennett fashion. He's pretty much coaching two teams at once, which is what we want to talk about next. So, if you didn't know, it was actually, I heard this for the first time on the weekend, Wayne Bennett was the one that reached out to Ben Hornby and said, put Keon Kaloamatangi into lock forward for the Rabbits. So, and look how well he's been going there and the turnaround that the Rabbits have had. I'm not saying that's all due to Keon, but his form, you know, he went from being a great Origin starter last year for his debut to rolling into this season pretty flat, and then moved to the middle. The Rabbits have taken off. Wayne Bennett's already got his influence on that team, and you'll probably see that happen a lot more next year. And I think a lot of thought process behind that will be to move maybe Cam Murray to an edge and really limit his workload of that contact through the middle, and play that edge role where he gets that line speed and that quick play the ball for his halves to play off the back of, like the Rabbits and Cody Walker like to do. So it's just amazing. Wayne Bennett at such the age he is and done everything in this game. And you think you can't do anything else. And here he is coaching basically two teams at once. So, it's just incredible, man. It's incredible.
Bro, his coaching record speaks for itself. You know what I mean? He went, obviously, you know, was started at the Raiders and all that, and then went to the Broncos when they first came from the competition, and he built the foundations of the Broncos to what we knew today. Like, there's the reason why a lot of people dislike the Broncos is because of the club they became under Wayne Bennett to start off with. You know what I mean? They became one of the most popular clubs, one of the most polarizing clubs, but because they used to win premierships and they were so successful in those early 90s and the late 90s, you know what I mean? And then moving on, multiple different like coaching positions, went to the Dragons, took them to a grand final, got them a victory. They're moving over to the Newcastle Knights that were in a shocking position at that point. No one got the best out of Newcastle Knights before Wayne Bennett at that point of like, within that was at the late 2010s, around those sort of ranges. And he took them to a final series before they fell apart, which is, just the foundation of Newcastle currently right now is just not in good steads. But then moves on to the South Sydney Rabbitohs after the little Broncos gig. I think it was the Broncos gig that went back to South, took them all the way to a grand final. And then a whole new place to go to, brings the Dolphins through. And in their second year, they're competing in the competition right now. They don't look too far out of being a top 8 team. I don't think they're roundabouts a top 4 team at the moment. Like, they are sitting around about that at a ladder, but I do think they'll end up around a top 8 team. But for their second year, like, from what they had the first year, the amount of injuries they had, they stuck to a system, their foundations. Wayne Bennett did that. But now he's coaching, as you said, 2 teams at once. Like, is there another coach like it?
No, it's just a shock that another coach would even give a shit about what another team is doing while he's worrying about his own. But, he's already prepping for next year. He's got the Dolphins to probably what they expected out of him, competing in finals potentially this year. I think 100% they will be. But now he's already teeing up his next role next year, and that's just incredible. And hats off to, Ben Hornby to still take that advice from one of the best to ever do it. And he'll go back to being an assistant under Bennett next year. But yeah, it's just, it's outstanding. It really is outstanding. And the influence he has on those Rabbit players already, just from the news of the signing that is going back there. They've been on a 3-win game. So it's just amazing. It's amazing. It's to say the least.
If you think about it, like, I think the Rabbits' opportunity to make the 8 is very, very slim this year. But like, not. if they were able to, right, he's coaching 2 teams that are most likely going to sit around in that top 8. Is there any other coach that's ever done that before? I don't think there's any coach out there that's ever done
Definitely
that.
Not.
So, like, that it just shows how amazing of a coach he is, a leader, and the way you build a club, the way you put systems into place. He's so smart with the way he does things. He always efforts first. He breaks things down really easily for all the boys out there, and they just like go out there and play football for Wayne Bennett. Like, he's done it with that many players. Even look at we'll talk a little bit about Tevita Pangai as well on the weekend. What are your thoughts on Tevita? I know that we both have same thoughts because, firstly, like, he's burnt me that many times because I've always been like, nah, Tevita's there. Like, he'll be okay as long as someone gets the best out of Tevita. But he lost me. He's just like, Tevita's just gone, like, just full egotistical. Everything that happened with that period with the doggies and going to boxing, failing at boxing, going back to footy. He was fairly good over the weekend. It wasn't like, he was lights out or anything like that. But I still think that, like, if there's any man that could just hold his ego in check and say, it's Wayne Bennett. And for a year deal with the Dolphins, I don't think it hurts him too much if he's able to continue to play what he is at the moment. Like, I felt like he was trying to set a tone in that matchup too with that late hit. You know what I mean? Like, so your thoughts on Tevita's game over the weekend? Because I know we were watching it very closely.
Yeah, look, he played with that chip on his shoulder, I guess you would call it. He wanted to be aggressive. He tried to be aggressive. And for a guy that's probably had, let's be real, limited fitness or limited game time, he's probably, done a couple of training drills and that's about it. There was news that he was sick coming into this one. He wasn't too bad. He was that bit of mongrel that the Dolphins could use in the middle, which could put a bit of fright into the teams if they want to go into the line. You're going to get whacked because he's not a guy that isn't afraid to give away a penalty. Let's be real. So I don't think he's going to be ever a great player again. He only showed that stint there at the Broncos where he was good, unless he does stay under a Wayne Bennett. So if he doesn't, follow Bennett to the Rabbits next year, I think he'll just fall back into his old ways fairly quickly. I think that is definitely a Wayne Bennett influence to get the best out of him. But yeah, again, I wouldn't have somebody like Tevita Pangai on my team, just on the sole factor that he's so hit and miss. You want guys that just show up and do their job. So
hopefully he continues, prove me wrong. You know what I mean? Like, as I said, like, I've always been like, he's something there until like, I just at the end of it, I just go, I don't think we'll ever see the best out of Tevita Pangai Junior.
No.
Prove me wrong, Tevita. Go out there, absolutely brain it. Even then, like I think it's a smart move for the Dolphins. Maybe stick with him 1 year and then see what happens from there. If he goes to Wayne Bennett, I don't know if they will re-sign him if they do. But yeah, either way, the Dolphins, like, well done for holding to your systems and stuff. But we might as well move to the next game of the weekend that we end up watching, my brother. The boys going down. I've touched on this a ton on last night's show. Obviously, all you can eats and stuff like that, guys. But yeah, that was watching that live was, I think, past the 40 mark. I was like, none of this can hurt me anymore. It can't hurt me anymore. It still found a way to hurt me a little bit more. But,
yeah, well,
bro, what were
I don't know, bro. Like I was overall just disappointed with the attitude. The attitude was the biggest one for me, guys not ripping in, not tying in, not working, guys coming off the bench and missing tackles, like you're going to miss a tackle, nobody's perfect. But when you're fresh, you're coming off that bench, your role is to make your tackles, especially to try and turn that game. And that's what they definitely needed from their bench players. And that didn't happen. It just got worse as soon as the bench players came on, unfortunately. And that's no disrespect to them. But, it's just, the Titans had a good game. Let's call it that. But the Warriors had a really bad game. And just attitude around guys when tries are scored. Like, the one try that the Warriors scored, there was a few guys that didn't go to celebrate. They just started walking back upfield and not shaking hands at the end of the game. Just attitude, little attitude things that you didn't see the Warriors doing last year. And I don't know, that's the difference in their season from last year to this season. So it's disappointing. It was very disappointing.
And you're the first one, like, because I want you to kind of explain this to everyone out there, because I've explained it a little bit, but because you're the first one to notice that, like, our middles weren't tying in to our edge. Like, we were getting beaten, not so much like our edge was slowly trying to push out and that, but back through the middle is like there was gaping holes, and the Titans ran that set play with Keanu Keeney back on the inside twice. They obviously watched film and they've understood that that's been an area of our problem. And I think we kind of discussed on All You Can Eats a little bit that Webby has changed little things to try and, I think, plug those holes, at a la Jackson Ford going from one side to the other, then to the front row, being one of our forwards that chases in the middle a lot more, like sort of like what Curran did very good for us, I thought, last year. You probably noticed that a lot more at the Doggies. But explain to people why it's so important for your middles and your edges to work together, to tie in together, and what tying in together really does mean.
Well, from where the play the ball is, whether you're A on the left or the right, it's your job to get up and lead that line speed. Your outside men cannot go up past a defender. If A and B are not moving up either side of the ruck, the outside man can't come up with them. The rule is you don't get in front of your outside man. So A and B have really got to set that line speed, and the marker's job is to split. Obviously, worry about the hooker to split, and then that second marker, if he goes right and the ball's gone left, his job is to tie back in, not just I've gone right, that's my job done. And I think that's where the Titans were catching you guys out, is your middles were not working, and they, from what I noticed and looking back on some of the highlights again, they really, really overworked Niokora. He ended up on the opposite side of the field in some tackles playing marker, because they just overworked him and worked him out of position, and then they tacked back down that channel. And it just showed that means to me that their middles aren't working. Their middles aren't communicating enough to be like, oh, you're a right side second rower. Fuck, try and get home. All right, I'll go left, you go right, get home. Nah, he just ended up left, and then out of position. And then you got a front rower then defending next to your half. And me as a half, bang, I like to get that ball on the front foot flat and go at that half defending out of position. And that just is what caught you guys out. And then on top of that, just the attitude as well on that first contact was pretty poor. But that's what tying in really, really burnt you guys. And it just showed every time they caught one of your fronties out of position. I think the second Keeney one, it was Tohu and Ads next to each other on an edge. That's never gonna work. Not when you've got guys like David Fafita coming at you, Brian Kelly coming at you, mate. The leg speed and the footwork that those guys are gonna throw on the fronties is just you're not going to stop them. It's simple as that.
Nah.
You got to tie in better there. You got to know your positioning better there and get your second rowers back to their positions to defend their halves. You can't have front rowers defending outside of that, second scrum line. So, yeah.
And the best point you brought up there was like, because I brought it up also on a video, like I took it as a positive, but before I said that in between two, I also said that it kind of was a disadvantage in a way as well, was the effort that Nick Corday had in that game to where he was trying to plug holes everywhere. Like the Titans made it a game plan because obviously Nick Corday was supposed to be the guy to take out Tevita as much as he can. So they're running Tevita back through the middle, if you notice a lot. And then you see Nick Corday seeing that boys are tying in, they're pushing into the middle and like leaving their edge. The biggest one that shows that, a big example, is that seeing Dylan Walker end up on that right edge instead of his left edge, and Jaden Campbell coming off that left foot and getting that offload to Balasia for his try. Nick Corday at that point was filling in on Dylan Walker's edge because Walker left that edge because the defense was there was no leadership, no communication there to really fill in these little gaps and these little holes. And I think the biggest word out of that was leadership, bro. And I think it's one of the biggest things we missed from last year. And I think that was the reason why I'm not saying I'm singling out Adden. And like, again, I don't want to go down this track of just singling out Adden because I think it's a lot more than that. But missing a guy that is, to me, his foot's outside the door now. Like he probably doesn't really want to be there. Hopefully he proves me wrong over the weekend, but being what he was last year, he was one of our leaders in the middle. And I'm sure that he would have been the intimidator that when things go wrong, he'll tell people what to do. But now that he knows that he's leaving and there's a spot that he's already been filled by Fisher Harris, I really feel like he's just like, well, what my job's done of doing that, I'm going to do my individual work, which is all the stuff you see on the stat sheet, which is absolutely incredible. He's an incredible front rower. But being a front rower is not all about the stat sheet. We see that with Lindsay Collins. We see that with Fisher Harris. We see that with Leota. It's all about all the little things, the leadership you have in the middle. And your defense always starts from the middle. It really always does. If your middles don't work hard enough, your edge has got to work twice as hard to cover inside and outside. Brother. And as you know, as a halfback, bro, if your edge back row is well too worried about those middles not tying in, your defense is going to watch inside before it goes outside. You're not covered. You become the spot man. And so you're going to have to do extra work from that point too. So I feel like that was a lot of the problems over the weekend. But you got any more on the Warriors? Like, what's your thoughts over the Warriors? I know we did a mid-season review and all that, but it's just after this game, we didn't see this coming. And I feel like this changes a lot of things already in our season currently right now.
Yeah, look, there's a million ways I didn't see the weekend going the way it did. But it's getting to the point where now, do we have to ask the hard question? And I mean, no disrespect to any Warriors fans out there. I love what they're building and what the club means to everybody now and everybody getting behind them. But with the way that the weekend went and this season is going, do we start to look at, are the Warriors having a bad season or did they just have a good season last year? And I've got some little things to back up what I'm saying here. And I know that there's COVID in there as well. So a couple of seasons there are a bit hard to judge on. But, 2023, all right, they finished third. They had 16 wins, 3 buys. 2022, they finished 15th with 6 wins. 2021, they finished 12th with 8 wins. 2020, 10th with 8 wins. 2019, 13 with 9 wins. 2018 was the last time they made finals other than last year, and they finished 8th with 15 wins, and then they were knocked out first week of the finals. And then it was 13th, 10th, 13th, 9th, 11th, 14th, right back to 2011. Before that was the last time that they made finals and finished 6th. So with no disrespect on the Warriors, did we get ourselves ahead of ourselves as spectators in the game of rugby league that the Warriors are the real deal this year? And did we set the expectation bar a little bit too high for the Warriors just based off last year alone, not the last 3 years, last 4 years, last 5 years? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's starting to look like they're not just having a bad season. It's starting to look like, all right, they just had a really good season last year and the Warriors actually aren't a top 8 team. And it hurts to say because they look like world beaters last year and, everything went right. But you can kind of tie them in a little bit with, I won't say Newcastle to a T, but, Newcastle had that really good back end of the season and it was an outstanding season. But before that, they didn't probably really make the finals either. So,
Yeah.
and it's, you know, Webby's new, all the players are new, nothing changed. Like, you know, the system's changed so much and the team's changed so much over the 10 years that I've just kind of based off. But like,
100%.
it's definitely a season that is hard to compare to last year because everything went right for you guys. You know, there was no injuries. You didn't have hardly any suspensions. It was a big year finally getting back to home games at New Zealand. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just starting to feel, and I don't want it to be like everybody jump off the bandwagon. But, you know, if the Warriors are the real deal, they really need to tie into this back end of the season and really try and put some respect on the back end of the season, you know, finish around that 10th mark to keep building the system that Webby's got there and the team he's got there leading into next year to make sure that it is not a one-off and they just slide back to a team that hangs around 13th, 14th like they have before last year. So what's your thoughts on that? Just looking at it over like a 5 or 10 year bracket, it's like, all right, maybe we just expected too much out of the Warriors. What do you feel about that?
I think it's a bit of two things. Like, I think that I do agree that we did probably expect a little bit too much of the squad here, especially, you know, I don't blame any of the fans really thinking that either because everything happened so quickly and just the excitement of being around a side that had SJ playing his best football, Dalian halfback of the year. Then we even had, Adam Finnell-Blake was a prop of the year. Dallin Waitenis-Lesniak was in contention for the winger of the year. We had so many players and our coach was our coach of the year. So, I think the biggest difference that we've seen, though, I think the resilience and all that we showed in that squad, the systems that we put into place, they really did work. Whether or not they had their best season last year, like players, you know, stepped out and had their best season last year. Whether we could have replicated that this year, as to your point, like the expectation really come off the back of that we had that season. We added Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. We added Kurt Capewell, which we all thought were going to be incredible signing. You know, Chanel Harris-Tevita coming back and, you know, the love, everything was back there and everything was seeming good. The only way I could ever push back on that sort of like thought is the start of the season, the performances were telling us that this is still the Warriors we knew. And the point where it definitely changed, where I continue to say is our defense just completely fell off was after that Manly game or that Manly game. And then injuries started coming into effect, which happens to every team in the competition. And it really fell off. But a lot of like our best moments still show that the system works when we play it to effect. Like, you know, a la the Panthers game, when we went that 3-game stint where people wanted to actually play like with effort, conviction, whether or not like some players weren't in that lineup that maybe are causing some unrest and, you know, things going on with our team currently right now. We've had some positive moments this year to show that we are as good as those top 8 teams and we are as dominant. Like, you know, our stats say that we are as dominant. Like, we are one of the best statistical teams in the competition. We are one of the worst at making those into wins this season. You know what I mean? Like, we're the best run meter team in the competition. We're the best possession team in the competition. Like, all the key areas you do to win football games, we got that, except for resilience and really biting on the mouthpiece and winning a football game, which the Melbourne Storm are the total opposite of that. You know what I mean? And I think that's what Melbourne do so well that we lost from last year. You know, it's just that finding a way to win. And we lost that in a period this year, and we've seemed to lose it again when we've had a lot of key people out. I understand that whole thought process of the Warriors being the Warriors. We're going back to being the Warriors. I still think that we've changed. I just think there's some deeper issues there that have really hampered this season in general. The only reason why I say it changed is because watching not just the NRL, but watching New South Wales Cup, watching, you know, all our junior grades coming through. We've always had a good under-20s team, but we've never had an incredible New South Wales Cup team. We've never had like anything that's going to take us to a whole new level where we're seeing that now where the systems are filtering down and all our teams are playing amazing football in our junior grades. That tells me that we are an uptrend. But you're onto a very good point there that our expectation was a little bit too high for the Warriors, especially coming off COVID. That ruined a lot of our development early for a lot of our juniors that were expecting to step up 100%. For our team currently right now. And like, you know, some of the signings coming back over, maybe they were a little bit over the hill and we didn't expect that. And maybe Webby was bringing in for experience, but sometimes bringing in too much experience as in, you know, an older player is probably not the best for injuries and, you know, other little things that can really hamper your season. But yeah, what's your thoughts on that sort of look there?
Yeah, no, definitely. 100% the Warriors will be back next year, bigger and better. And
Oh yeah,
this isn't this question and me asking this was definitely not the Warriors are going to go back to the. There's no way they're going back to the way they were. Not with
no,
the blood that they've got coming through New South Wales Cup. The
yep,
way that the development system is now, everything's back in full swing. They're actually getting guys sticking to league instead of running off to rugby, which is amazing to see for New Zealand and
yeah,
the Warriors. So
yep,
they're definitely not going to go back down that track. It's just I
yep,
hope everybody else doesn't start to look at them like they will.
mm,
You know,
yeah,
they're
no,
showing, as you said, man, they're showing signs of that same system this year. They're just not getting the bounce of the ball, whereas the
yeah,
team like Melbourne are getting the bounce of the ball and the run of the
yeah.
green. You know, it's just one of those things. Like they're in, other than the weekend, take out the weekend, they're
That's
in
the only
most
one.
contests. All right, they're
Yeah,
in nearly every contest, and you know,
mm,
if they got an extra call, an extra penalty, or a bounce of the ball, they probably win
yeah,
probably 3 or 4 more of those games that were very close. So
yeah,
the development is there, and I
yeah,
think it's definitely time to potentially look at moving on ads.
yeah,
He's out the door, as you said. As soon as that news came out that he was going to be staying this year, it should have
mm,
already been probably red flags that this guy's probably not going to rip in as much and start to go a bit individual. As you said, he doesn't really care about the future now, whereas last year it was all about, all right, the future, the system, we're
yeah,
building. You got a guy there that's not really building anymore. He's just worried
yeah,
about next season, and that
yeah,
might be the thought process with a couple of players. So, but yeah,
yeah,
it's stay patient. I think the development is strong there. The system is
yeah,
strong there. And I think maybe they somewhat need to sometimes not just rely on the system and play a bit of eyes up footy. And I think that's
mm,
the difference that we did see in that 3 games where you just come off wins,
yeah,
where Tamare does like to play on that front foot and play what's in front. It's not just always all system. Whereas I
yeah,
feel like the last 2 weeks it has gone back to a little bit of stagnant system. So,
yeah.
but yeah, I definitely think the future is still bright for the Warriors. It's definitely just been a difficult season to navigate, and I think next year we'll see them back into that 8 pretty comfortably.
Yeah, and on that point, like from what I've picked up throughout the season, what I've learnt from Webby and the way he really wants to run his football team is, I think the main thought for me over the system is, again, I keep touching on Webby's trying to build a defensive football side that plays, full possession. We're holding a team down the other end, and a lot of that does come from playing through the system of defensive system, but the attack seems to be a lot of, and especially from what I've seen the last couple of weeks, is he must get the boys together and says, all right, what do we want to see? What do we want to play with? And it revolves around the game plan, the overarching game plan. And I think that he allows to boys like Tamade Martin, as we saw in that 3-game stint, to have that gunslinging mentality and just go with it and just run it out. Where I feel like, as I touched with you before, like I think that the injuries of Sean Johnson has relied him to just think that if he goes through the motions, everyone
Hmm.
else, if he does the right things, everyone else is going to stand up and he doesn't have to do a lot of the extra, you know what I mean? Like the Sean Johnson
Yeah.
from last year. And I think it's been pointed out a lot of times is, and this is not me bagging Shawnee at all because I absolutely love Shawnee, but I think his
Hmm.
injuries have held him back from doing all the stuff that's like the kick chase, the big things that kind of build momentum for a lot of these side as well. Where Tamade was very much of just like gunslinger. I'm going to play it fast and heavy. And that suits our style because that's what I think the system was meant to be, is like, we've got an overarching system. This is what you want to get back to when everything goes wrong. But when we get to the other end of the field, it's up to you boys to figure that out and really key in on points in the field. Like, about being a halfback, bro. Like, talk about getting your team around the field, spots, and key in on like certain things that you look at a defensive line and the reason why you take over at certain points and where you want the team to get on the field. Like, I think that's the bigger thing with us. I think the Warriors get themselves into great field position, get themselves into the spots, but we, as you said, fall into the motions of those out the back players when Shawnee's injured. But when we have Tamade, I think he's more of a, all right, we're hampering the side, bang, all right, this guy's defending in instead of defending out. I can run this play here. What's your thoughts there? Because you as a halfback, what do you see? Like, what do you like a team doing, getting you to what positions and stuff like that?
It just depends on your half partner as well. You know, somebody's kind of got to be ball dominant, and the other's kind of got to play off that. Whereas I feel like
Yeah.
the Warriors with Shawnee and Tamare together, they're
Mm.
both wanting the ball. They're both wanting to be that first receiver role. And I think that the sweep play isn't suiting Shawnee at the moment.
No.
And I definitely think for me as a half, I like to have the ball in my hands attacking the line. You know, I like to dig into the line. And I think that's what Tamare does really well. And I think,
Yeah.
you know, Shawnee is probably feeling some of those injuries to the point where he's not doing that because he's not thinking run first. And
Yeah.
as a half, that is the most dangerous thing, is to always think run first. So as for getting to points on the field and stuff, that is really up to the hooker and the lock these days. And then it's supposed to be the halves that take over from there. Other than that, your system coming out of your end, the Warriors are doing fine. It's just they're struggling to convert when they get to that good ball zone. And with that said, I feel like if you maybe had a win in these two games or won both these games or been a bit closer, you wouldn't have seen Shawnee pull out with injury. But I think the loss has weighed in on that injury a lot more. And it's probably making it a lot harder for him to want to put his body when he's injured out there on the field trying to do more than he can. Whereas if you're winning, it kind of masks that a bit more. And his mentality would be, I want to be out there, we're winning, I'm killing it. So I'm not saying that he's bitching it because they're losing or anything like that, but you know, a win does all that for you. It gives you that confidence. It makes you feel good. It makes you on a high to the point where you want to keep rolling. Whereas, you know, they're losing and, you know, they're starting to pinpoint, it might be this, it might be that. And you start to feel those niggles a lot more. So that's all really wanted to touch on with the Warriors there. So it's just, you know, just stay patient. You know, what Penrith have built didn't just happen overnight. You know, that was like a 5, 6, 7 year rebuild in those early days. And then now they're reaping the benefits of that. And they will continue to reap the benefits of that because they've got that junior system in place. And that's what, you know, hopefully the Doggies are building. And that's what the Warriors seem to be building. You know, it's that system of your junior system. It's not about just right now. It's about who's going to plug that hole when somebody's out. And that's what Penrith do so well. And that's what Melbourne did so well. And that separates, you know, the great teams from the good teams. So that separates, for me, the Melbournes, the Penrith, from someone like the Roosters who go and shop around for all their fucking players. Whereas, you know, Melbourne and Penrith have built and keep building that system. So, and I hope that's where the Warriors and the Bulldogs are going for both of our sakes. So stay true.
Well, to be
stay
fair,
true. It'll be fun.
To be fair, it's a similar thing of what the Dolphins have built the foundations on as well. And it's all the best teams that, like, it's going to take forever. It's not just going to happen so quickly as what everyone wanted to. And as I kind of pointed out, I think, as I said, like, I think halfway through the season, I started to look at the team and think that Webby brought in experience, not just the whole thing of, like, you look at our team on paper, it looks really, really good on paper, all that sort of stuff. Everyone was like, that's a grand final winning team. But I think Webby also had the thought that a lot of these experienced players will be, you know, the gatekeepers sort of thing of just like holding it out, showing the boys, the juniors, like how they professionalism, all those little things, like, you know, so when they get into first grade, they can do a job. Very similar to that Panthers team that had James Tarmel, they had they had Maloney, they had like all those key players that were holding a spot for a lot of these players that we see right now, Jerome Lua, Nathan Cleary. They didn't just come on, you know, it's one at a time. They came a lot of them just came all the way through because they end up winning, you know, all the junior grades together. They won SG ball together. They won, you know, they came up together with a winning mentality. And I think
100%.
Webby had an idea of just going, let's hold these boys together. I understand like every Warriors fans wants success right now and all that, but the success will come in the future with like the Harold Matts boys that have won a premiership right now under their coach, you know, TJ and that. And shout out TJ, he did a good job. I didn't mean to not touch on TJ last night and all that, but Webby's system with TJ running it down there, incredible. They won a grand final. It's like one of our biggest things that for our club. We got a premiership now with all those boys, and those boys can carry that into the next year. And when you grow up and you learn how to win games, you learn how to win premierships, it bleeds into the side and it turns into a whole new era. It's not about like the older boys now that know how to not win a premiership. We're getting to an era of all these boys that win all their junior grades and understand what it takes to win in the big moments, like Nathan Cleary has done, like Jerome Luai has done with the under 20s years. And it's something that we've been missing for a long time now. It's the difference between, you know, winning from juniors and all the way up and just doing it in the first grade. And I think all these boys will come up together, and that's when we start to see the Warriors that we want to see. I think all the stuff that Webby's doing right now is putting us in the position to do that in the future, if that makes sense.
100%. 100% it does, brother. 100%.
All right, so we may as well move on to the doggies, my brother, the doggies. And like, honestly, like rewatching that game, I felt like you guys were like, for players that were out against, a Roosters team that are running hot. I know the Roosters were missing a couple players too, but the Roosters, as we just touched on, like the amount of players that these guys have in their system, like, their depth is on a different level. I thought the doggies gave it a fucking red hot crack. There was a couple of coaching, obviously, decisions and now it's come out that Matty Burton wanted to play center apparently, so he could feel like that would help the team a lot better, which is a mature thing from Birdo, but also I think that Serrato should have took him under and said, nah, mate, we've got players that can do that. We want you there to be the sole playmaker. What were your thoughts on the doggies over the weekend? And then we'll run over, the Roosters and how they went. But the doggies, first of all, bro, what were your thoughts there?
Yeah, look, I think definitely being one of your most informed 5'8" this year of the competition, you don't move Matt Burton from that position. And I think that's where we lacked was that finish. And I think that's where we needed Burton in the halves to have that finish. So, and I'm not doing the dog. I love it. Maybe later. Next time we win. But with that said, like, look, the doggies showed a lot of heart. I think Crichton defensively is a big miss for us, and leadership was a big miss for us. But yeah, I don't think we did too much more wrong. I feel like Burton to the centers was a mistake, but I like that he put his hand up for that. It shows that the boys are getting around each other, and there's a lot of trust between coach and players there. But I think he definitely needs to stay in that 5'8" role, and we should have been able to bring somebody else up pretty easily to slot into that spot. But with that said, the Roosters on paper shouldn't lose a single game, in my opinion. But it is what it is. It's the Roosters. We knew it was going to be a tough one. And yeah, the Roosters, when they're on, they're on. It's simple as that. And I still don't think, they probably reached their full potential. And they show lots of vulnerability, which is crazy because, as I said, on paper, they're a team that should not be losing games. So, but yeah, I'm still proud of the boys. And I think, we'll really bounce back against Cronulla. And I think the odds makers do as well. With us not being too much of an outsider, I think we've got a really red hot crack in that game. So, but yeah, I didn't get to watch a lot of it. We're driving over from the Gold Coast to watch it on my phone. But yeah, there's a lot of moments that I'm proud of still to really say that we gave it a good crack.
Yeah, the moments you should be proud of. Jarrell Skelton, bro, that hit. Oh my God, bro. Yeah. He's a freak. He's a freak.
The run meters, the try he scored, mate, size, power, speed, he's got it all. Our junior system is really looking red hot. So I'm excited for the future there. And speaking of the future, I do not want Chad Townsend. So please, Phil Gould, if you are listening,
bro. Chaddy Townsend, what's your thoughts?
Nah, bro. Honestly, we've got a killer in the making in is it Nathaniel Wood?
Mitchell Woods.
Sorry, Nathaniel Wood's a UFC fighter. Mitchell
he
Woods.
Is.
Mate. He played absolutely outstanding for the Blues under-19s last week, and he is our future with Matt Burton. We don't need another guy coming in like Drew Hutchison, is my opinion of Chad Townsend, where you're a bit over the hill. I don't understand that signing. We don't need him to fill a development system in our New South Wales Cup, and we definitely don't need him in NRL for any more leadership. I think, we stick with Sexton, who's playing really good footy for us. And then you start to bleed Mitchell Wood, who looks outstanding. So, but what's your thoughts? Would you have a guy like Townsend come to your club?
Nah, mate. Nah, we already been past that point with us with the Warriors. Remember, he went for that little stint with us before he went to the Cowboys in that COVID period where we honestly could have took anyone. We took Sean O'Sullivan at one point. That it looked good in the Panthers system, but that's a system. Ash Taylor is another one. Like, we got to that point, and I don't think the doggies should be that team anymore. And I think he's above that now. Like, you've showed that your systems are starting to work, your defensive systems are starting to work, and even with Toby Sexton there currently right now, I think he's doing a good enough job comparatively to your two halfbacks you could pick. That he's playing so direct and stuff. Like, you don't need someone that could be an injury problem. He's only going to probably be there for a couple of years. And Toby Sexton and Matty Burton are doing a great job. And also, as you touched on, Mitchell Woods, bro, it's like his potential is so high. You don't want to put too much hype over a young kid coming through. But, he was trying to get signed by the AFL as well. I can't remember what AFL team wanted to get him under their wing. So his kicking game, that's faultless. And you saw that in the under-20s, the under-19s, Maroons versus Blues game. Like, him and Kobe Black's kicking game for such a young age was incredible. Still got a lot to learn in that, but like their potential
100%.
for the future is really, really high. So I don't think you are that team anymore. You don't need to be looking at that. May as well round it out too that Satili Tupanua, it's coming out. Apparently it may not be happening. Phil Gould apparently came out and said that he doesn't really see that happening and that. But would you have wanted someone like Satili? Like, if he was on the market, what were your thoughts there?
Look, we haven't really got to see his full potential. He's part of a system that is a stacked team of the Roosters. And they got, back rolls galore. He is a gun. I don't think we should sign him. I think we keep, again, looking into our juniors. We've got Jamin Salmon, who's doing a great job defensively in our back row position, who's actually come up with a few meat pies just on effort. And then we've got Preston and Kickow. And I think we really stick with those guys. I don't think we need to look for another back rower. And I don't think you play him through the middle as much as, the success that Keon's had through the middle. I think Sasuli would be better suited to a team that really likes their edge back rowers punching holes because he is a great hole runner, and I think he plays on the edge a lot better than he would through the middle. So for a Doggies fan, as good as he is, I don't think we sign him knowing what back rowers we already have. So I think the Doggies just need to stick with what they got, let it settle a little bit, and really just keep building and not really try and outsource, more so just build that club culture from New South Wales Cup into our A-grade side, and we'll be sweet. That's what I think
You got some juniors coming through, like that Galdonga, that's an edge back rower as well. You've seen him a little bit too. Like that man's defense, like he hits so hard. Excited to see his future. You're just building from within, like as we just touched on Jarrell Skelton, some of his like performances and that, like when he gets into grade, he's legit like a Greg Marju 2.0 in a way. Like he's so similar, right? And it's like as soon as you get more development in him, like, he's learning maybe more defensive reads. He has some really good defensive moments, but reading defense a little bit more, a couple of errors maybe in his game, but he has the potential to be incredible. And it's where you come to a point now, you had the Fox there filling in, being the experienced key member that's holding a spot for the future. Now you could look at, like, you probably don't need the Fox anymore. You got the Blake Wilsons of the world. You got the Jarrell Skeltons of the world. That frees up cap for the future that you can really give to maybe a junior that's going really well, or maybe, who knows, a big key piece comes onto the market again too, and you can really run in the market that way. But I think the Doggies are in a good position now. And even though their 26-8 performance over the weekend, I thought there was a lot of positives in that game. Like, he's played incredible for a team that, the Roosters coming into that matchup are just, they're hard, bro. Like, when you got Semi Walker wheeling and dealing the way he is at the moment, bro, like, he is on fire. Watch 4 try assists in that game. His short kicking game's unreal. Just on a different level. They hit you with that same play from the scrum as they hit us with Joey Manu. The bang, hit Joey Manu, and Semi Walker wraps around the out the back, bro. Like, just some of the Roosters
all over the field, man. It's just, it's unreal.
Yeah, and Brendan Smith, bro, he probably had one of his better games, in history. I know a lot of pressure was on him, but what were your thoughts on, seeing limited of this game and that? But Brendan Smith had some really big moments. What, a 40-20 he kicked in that game from memory?
Yeah, I did see his 40-20, so maybe starting to play a bit more freely, which is good for Brendan Smith because that's when he's at his best. So, just going off the stats mainly. I didn't really watch too deeply on Brendan Smith alone, but yeah, he looked good and looked himself again. So hopefully he continue to build on that form. As much as I hate the Roosters.
And shout out to Dwayne, my brother. We've been watching the chat and all that. Apparently, he's got some nephews in your system. Lennox seems to be one of them and all that. So continue to, watch out for that name too. But plays prop played through Redcliffe. So obviously, Dwayne, shout out if you're in the Redcliffe area and all that. Obviously, we all live fairly close to each other and all that. But good to see some Redcliffe boys get picked up in the doggy system. A lot of the doggies pick up around this area too. You notice that, eh?
Yeah, definitely.
So you had like, my missus' little brother, Brendan, he got picked up in the doggy system. Vicar, he got picked up, and my missus' cousin picked up in the doggy system. A lot of people get picked up in the system. So I think the doggies do a lot of groundwork in Queensland, which is really, really cool to see. But that's probably the last of all with the doggies there, my brother. We kind of touched a little bit on the Rabbitohs, like with the thing going of Wayne Bennett and that. But did you want to touch too much on the Rabbitohs versus the Manly Sea Eagles game? I felt like that was probably the poorest game of the weekend, other than maybe our performance on the football field. But yeah, that one was tough, bro.
He still haunts you, eh? Look, the Rabbits, they got the job done. They needed to win again and keep their season alive. So good on them, and that's good. They're heading in the right direction. They can continue to build. So it's good for them. But moving on to the Tigers, man, outstanding.
Bro, what's your thoughts, man? So Lockie Galvin stepping up, Adam Doueihi back off injury, Api Coruscant, fucking incredible. Like, this is why Api Coruscant was brought to the club, and we've seen a lot of moments this year. He's been one of those sole members that continues to put in effort after effort, and there finally seemed to be something going on there. I don't know if it's mainly coming off of, the game at Leichhardt. They go to Campbelltown, so they're both home games where they got a lot of history, and they've got to play up to that, but they played amazing on the weekend. 48-24 over the Raiders that look completely shot. Like, first of all, the Tigers, bro, what's going on there? Incredible.
I think, like you touched on, man, it's the home crowd. I think, a big inclusion of Adam Doueihi. I think everybody in rugby league wanted to see that guy do well, just like Ryan Papenhuyzen. They just got young guys giving it a dig, and that's the main thing, is seeing the young guys, or not even young guys, just guys that show up with a positive attitude, wanting to play for their club, wanting to win. Never in a million years I've seen Canberra losing that game either. Like, Canberra's pretty solid this year. And the Tigers just really took them out of that game early. So very promising signs for their future there. So I'm excited to see if they can continue that on this week in a big test against the Roosters. So that will really separate if it's been just a good 2 weeks or if they really turned the leaf. So definitely excited to see that. I'm just going to grab
That'll be the biggest test. You're right, my bro. That'll probably be the biggest test of the weekend overall, is like, we're going to have Adam Doueihi versus Joey Manu this weekend, fresh off an injury and that. I think that's going to be an incredible matchup coming up, against the Roosters. I think that's going to be a big one. But players like Samuel Afinu was incredible. His junior development, he's always had a bit of raps, coming from the Manly system, him and his little brother. I don't think he's too little brother. I think they're both the same age, but bro, Samuel is looking like a handful out there, eh? He's aggressive. He just runs hard, tackles hard. What are your thoughts on his future? Like, where do you see him at the moment?
I think it's going to be outstanding, to be honest, especially if you get the likes of, Jerome Luai in there with that system and him running off Luai, man. It's going to be incredible. It's the Tigers they're another club that needs to stay patient. They're doing the rebuild. So, he's a talent, and he's showing that, and he's showing what you need to show when you really want to be a part of a team, and a part of a team that's got to build a new culture. And as we touched on in previous episodes of Down Unders, that, Lockie Galvin really standing up and wanting to be what turns the leaf of that club. And I think you're starting to see a bunch of other players put their hand up and say, you know what, I want to be a part of that. And as I said, this weekend will really be the test. If they go out there and get blown away, their heads might drop a bit. But, if they really take it to the Roosters, win, maybe just lose, it's going to continue to build for them. But this weekend is a big test for them. It's a tough team to go up against, and especially for, a bunch of young ones like the Tigers are running at the moment. Hopefully it doesn't knock their confidence too much. So we'll see.
We'll see, bro. We'll see. And a couple of things I did want to point out before we get off this game is, number one, Adam Doueihi, going back to Adam Doueihi, like coming back in. The chat apparently going around that, Benji was saying like, I was worried about putting him in too early, all that sort of stuff. But he asked Adam Doueihi, how you going? Like before the weekend game, have you heard this yet, bro? He was like, how you going, Doueihi? Like, are you ready? Like, are you getting the jitters? Do you feel up for it? If not, like I can pull you out. He goes, nah, bro, I was ready 3 weeks ago. Like, he's still like getting up his rehab. So like that just shows the type of player and competitor that Doueihi is. And that's a player that the Tigers definitely want to keep. And lastly, with Lockie Galvin, another thing that he said in the media and that is, with Stefano's contract situation currently right now, looking like that maybe he's on the outer with the Tigers chasing for some money, but also some success that he hasn't had with the Tigers. Lockie's actually being a big voice in the changing room to keep Stefano and saying, keeping him like, put it in his pocket, being like, hey bro, like stay with me, like we'll do this together. So that's really good to hear from a kid that, a lot of big rumors came out on him, and, hopefully he continues to do this and consistently continues to do this. So he looks like he becomes a legend that he wants to be. As Andrew Jones said, just stay at the club, become the legend, become the reason why the Tigers are good again. You know what I mean? So what's your thoughts on those?
No, that's what you want from your halves. Your halves have got to have the biggest voice out there. So, yeah, that's great news to see that kid want to do that. That's, for me, absolutely outstanding to see. It's what I would want to be a part of. You don't want to just get the easy road to a victory. You want to make that club turn around and get that victory. So yeah, it's outstanding what we are seeing out of the Tigers finally, and I do hope they continue it this week and do maybe beat the Roosters. That'd be great to see. So it'd be a good one. It'd be a good one to watch.
All right, let's put a bow on this weekend, my brother. Let's go through a whole new segment, guys. We're going to be doing our team of the week. So me and Brody have come together and done our teams of the week. So starting off at fullback, Brody, Keanu Kini. What were your thoughts on his performance over the weekend? Fucking incredible, right?
Unmatched, man. Unmatched. I think he ended up with, was it 2 tries? I didn't actually look at the stats. I know he got one.
Probably up there, bro.
Couple of line breaks, heaps of tackle bust, over 200 run meters. It's a no-brainer, and I know it was probably easy to look good in that Titans squad with the defense that was in front of them, but yeah, he was outstanding, which rolled into AKP being in that team of the week as well on the side, 100%. Yeah, so that's 1 and 2.
AKP, incredible. We had to have him in because they were like 2 massive performers in that game there too. And Keanu Kini, like close to like Ryan Papenhuyzen was fairly close, I feel like, as well. I felt like he had a really good performance over the weekend. I'm not too sure off the top of my head, a couple other notable names. I thought Teddy had a decent game over the weekend and all that. But moving on to our center pairing, because we just said AKP, we'll go to Adam Doueihi and Jacob Kiraz. So Adam Doueihi to touch with, like, coming back off injury, as we just touched on, incredible performance. But Jacob Kiraz on the weekend for your doggies, man, far out.
Unreal.
Potential, bro.
He had me gobsmacked. He started the hit up on the right side, got an offload. It went like to the left scrum line, and then offload came back to him. And the way he beat one-on-one his man and got down that edge to give it to Jarrell, man, incredible. He's just a gun, man. He's an absolute gun, and he's a future for New South Wales if there's an injury to that right center or right wing role. I think for sure you could pair him up with Critter, and unstoppable.
He's a freak, man. He's growing every time we see him. Another notable mention we had there was Jack Howarth. I thought, we both thought that he had a great weekend on the weekend too. So really, really excited to see his development continue to go up. We had on the wings, so we had this 50-50 sort of look there. Jarrell Skelton for his performance, while Will Warbrick definitely has a notable mention. Which would you rather out of those two as our other winger? What will you reckon? Who had the better performance over the weekend? It's tough, that one.
I'm gonna say with the win and the influence they had on the game to get the win, Will Warbrick, man, was outstanding. Jarrell Skelton was great. It's always tough coming up from New South Wales to do your job, potentially to not get to play that role next week when injury guys come back in. He done his job outstanding, put that in the back of his mind. But for me, overall, Will Warbrick would probably steal that spot for team of the week. Just with their performance he had, he was outstanding in his return game for Melbourne, and really had an influence on the game to get the win. So,
bro, overall athlete that man is, high ball, he gets up there, he moves well, he's strong, he's looking really, really good for the Melbourne Storm. Numbers in the 6 jersey, we went with Jaden Campbell. Obviously, big honourable mention. I thought Lockie Galvin had a great game over the weekend, but Jaden Campbell, you can't go away from, he broke the points record or something in a single game for the Titans over the weekend. Kicked 11 out of 11. He dominated us, and he always seems to have great games against the Warriors. Just a guy that has such good footwork. What were your thoughts on Jaden Campbell, bro? Had to be the 6, right?
Unreal, bro. Unreal. There was a bit of a question mark, over him playing 6.
100%.
Again, whether it was just the defense in front of him on the weekend, but he killed it. You still got to be good enough to take the opportunities that are in front of you. And he absolutely killed it. And it's sad to see that he's going to be out with a hand injury potentially. But yeah, he killed it. And, Lockie Garvin was there. But for me, you can't go past Jaden Campbell. 26 points in one game is unreal.
You can't go past him, bro. I thought he was incredible. Moving on to the number 7. And again, this one was, for me, it was a little bit of a battle between the two. But, Jerome Hughes versus Sammy Walker. I thought Jerome Hughes was on one over the weekend. Again, doing a lot of the Melbourne Storm things of try savers and just always in the game. You let him around the park. But you go Sammy Walker, 4 try assists. I think Jerome Hughes, 2 try assists. Jerome scored too. So he had the try scoring involvement.
Yes.
Yep. Who would you choose out of those two? Jerome? You swaying Jerome?
Yeah, Jerome, brother. Sam Walker can fuck off. But he should have been sin-binned twice, in my opinion. That high shot. And I was going to touch on the refereeing and the consistency around sin-binning, but it would just wind me up to absolute shit. The RTS
we know
one.
it, bro.
And no hip drop sin-bins anymore. They just change the rules each week, but we're not talking about it. We're moving on. But yeah, Jerome Hughes.
Great views, bro. Moving on to our front row pairing, we went with Terrell May and Christian Welch. Terrell May, bro, 80 minutes of death in the middle. Like, that guy's a freak of nature fitness-wise.
Snagged the try there as well.
Bro, beast. And Christian Welch, just like fine wine. He continues to even though he's got a bench role now, he comes off the bench, but his experience off the bench, his offload just offers so much. But his leadership through the middle too, man. I think we noticed that a lot on the weekend. So shout out to Christian Welch making our team of the week. Arpi Coruscant, number 9, brother. What's your thoughts on Arpi's performance? Incredible, right?
Yeah, he was good. I think the Tigers were a bit desperate there with him at halfback last week. I think 9 is definitely he's where you need. It's where you need someone like Appy. He needs to control that middle, and he really did a good job of that. And he really laid the platform with his front rowers for his halves to play off. So yeah, Appy for sure, player of the week. So
yep. Now moving to our 2 edge back rollers, we're gone the juggernaut himself, the focal point to that Titans offense, David Fifita, bro. Like the way they used him over the weekend, they just kept peppering his side. He just, like, as you said, he was the main reason I felt like, Nia Corday was finding himself left, right, and center filling in gaps because Nia Corday had to do a job to try and spot up on him. But also, moving to fill in gaps there too. Like, Fifita just blows out a game like no other, right? He's like a juggernaut when it's attack. Everything goes well. He's such a good key piece to your team, right?
Yeah, look, if you see the Titans score 66 points, you're wondering how many tries did Fifita get, and it's unreal that he didn't score a single one. So I'm sure he probably ruined a lot of multis, especially when you see that scoreline. You would have started rubbing your hands together. But yeah, look, it just shows that he didn't need to score tries to be an influence on the game. So he was unreal.
Maybe Billy's talk and all that's getting to him. Maybe he's becoming a better player from there. Shout out to you, Lockie, mate. Get out of our chat, mate. No.
Don't bring that Titan stuff here.
Moving on to Samuel Afanu. He locked down our other team of the week position in the edge back row, bro. As we just touched on before, he's got a big future, aggressive, unreal player. And last but not least, Keon Golomatangi. So story on this, I was doing, we were doing a team of the week together. I was leaving 13. I couldn't really think of it. And I was like, could I forget Keon Golomatangi for the middle, bro? Like, incredible work. 200 and something meters for the middle, just high work rate, aggression. He's definitely a suitor there. Another try. Yeah. Keon, bro, he's a freak for the future, right?
If the Rabbits are looking at potentially not putting Cam Murray in lock, it just speaks to how highly Keon has been playing through the middle. So it's absolutely outstanding.
Yeah. What a freak, man. What a freak. All right. Well, we may as well move it on we'll go through our team of the season so far. So me and Brody have just selected this blindly. So there could be a couple of different ones here that we have in between. We'll probably talk to each other to see our thoughts overall. But we'll start with you, my brother. What is your team of the season so far? We're mid-season now, just past mid-season. A lot of big performers this season. What are your thoughts? Go from 1 to 13, your team of the season.
All right. So you want to go 1 to 13, or do you want to go 1 and then you say you're 1?
Go 1 to 13, bro, because we might have a lot of similar players.
All right. I'll just find it in my notes. All right. So I've got Dylan Edwards. I've got Brian Toto. I've got Herbie Farnworth in left centre. I've got Stephen Crichton in right centre. This one was a
yeah.
real flip of the coin for me. It was either Zach Lomax or Jacob Carraz for right wing.
Yep.
It's a bit hard because Carraz bounced between that center and that wing role, but either of those guys are absolutely unreal, and I think either one of them will take out one of the winger of the year spots. Me, take off my doggies jersey. It's still Matt Burton in 6. I would say Jerome Luai with the job he's doing for the Panthers, but technically he's been running at 7 so far.
Yeah.
Not really 6.
That's
so if I'm going off bias of 5'8", I'm going to say Matty Burton. In for 7, as I touched on the game on the weekend, the Dolphins and the Storm really made me sway more towards Jerome Hughes, but Isaiah Katoa, really hats off to you, man. It's been an unreal season so far, and you still might, pip Jerome at the end, but at the moment, Jerome is a definitely red hot chance for potential daily and player of the year, not just half.
100%.
For my 8 role, number 8, I've gone Payne Haas just over Tommy Hazelton. Tommy Hazelton has had an unreal start to the season. Unfortunately, he's moved just back to the bench now, but I'm going to go with Haas and Ruben Cotter in my front rows.
Love
it. With Mitch Barnett, there is an honorable mention because, again, he's played back row and front row. It's been a bit hard, but he should be in a team of the year, but it's just I don't know where to put him. So if I'm going out and out fronties, it's Payne Haas, Ruben Cotter. Blake Brayley's my 9. Angus Crichton and Ali Katoa are my back rowers. And I'm going to say Isaiah Yeo just in that lock role, again with Keon and Max Plaff not far behind him, but it's hard to go past Isaiah Yeo, and just the work rate he gets through 80 minutes each game. Tackles are up there, ball playing's up there, run meters are up there, and then my interchange of the year so far has been Terrell May. Absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, freak of nature, right? All right, we'll go through mine. So we got a lot of similar. For me, number 1 at fullback, Dylan Edwards. I think Dylan Edwards has an incredible season. You can't have him not there. For me, my 2 wingers, you said Brian To'o. I agree. Brian To'o is probably the first pick for me with my wingers. The other winger, I went with Lomax. Again, I agree. I feel like Carraz has a great season in that, but I feel like that start of what Lomax did, like to start of this year and got into a Blues jersey, unreal to see from what he was before to what he is now, playing on that wing. I think he's been incredible. In the centers, this one was tough for me. I had Herbie Farnworth and I have Critter. Joey Manu, I was thinking of Joey Manu in there, and I feel like Joey Manu's had a really, really good season as well. I think it is a lot easier when you have Sammy Walker, wheeling Dillon, and you have Dom Young outside of you. You get those try assists and stuff as that, but you're just seeing Joey Manu's still one of the best centers in the competition right now. I feel like it was so hard because Critter's had such a good season. I can't have Critter out of that center position. Defensively, Critter's fucking unreal. In the halves, I went Jerome Hughes and Jerome Luai. So the 2 Jeromes. Again, I agree. Maybe you could be looking at Jerome Hughes as that 7 because he has been playing majority as a 7. But I feel like just in general, as a 6, one of the better 6s in the competition. His form's been incredible. I'll fit him in there. But I agree. Matt Burton's had a good year. I feel like the start of the season, Ezra Mem had an amazing start to the season, has slowly dropped off a little bit too as an honorable mention. But yeah, and honorable mention also, I think Daly Cherry-Evans for that number 7 too. He's had a great year as well. But again, I agree. Isaiah Katoa is another one you can throw up there. So it's very similar between those 2 there. Up front, Payne Haas. I agree. It's tight, but Payne is still Payne Haas. And my other frontie, I went with Terrell May. I just rocketed him all the way up to that starting front row position because I feel like he has so much potential. He's had such a great season. And when the Roosters need him to go 80, he'll do 80. When the Roosters need him to do 20 off the bench, he'll do 20 and do a great job of it either way. His stats show it that way. We saw a Magic Round, him come off the bench and that cutout pass, off the bench.
Unreal.
Freak, man. Number 9. This one was, I had Blake Brayley as an honorable mention because I was like, Harry Grant. I feel like Harry Grant's been a big key piece of the reason why Melbourne continue just to win games, even though he wasn't there over the weekend, but majority of his bigger games, he was there. But Blake Brayley's been incredible and highly underrated this season. He 100%. Could have been in more chats for the Origin squad. What were your thoughts there?
Yeah, I definitely think I thought there was going to be a lot more talk around him for Origin as well, potentially. But, why change so much when, Reece Robson and Appy have been doing a job there? So he might be another unfortunate like Reed Marnie. There's just those two guys that have been there just before him that are still eligible to play and still young enough to play, where he might just miss out for a bit. So yeah, Blake Brayley, unreal season so far this season.
And then I moved to my edge back rowers. I got Homole Olakau'atu. I feel like his season has been fucking unreal. Like club form, I know in Origin we didn't get to see a lot out of him there, but in club form solely alone, I feel like he's been one of the big pieces of when Manly go well. It's through his attack. The other side, I went Angus Crichton. I feel like we had both Angus Crichton. Angus Crichton had to be there. Yes,
Angus Crichton had to be there.
Would you say he's the best edge back rower in the competition right now? It's tough, right? Like, because you got
form-wise, yes, but overall, it's hard. I'm going to say right now, yes. In this season, yes.
Yeah. We'll start doing some top fives and stuff. I reckon that'll be really fun for the people in the chat. I reckon that'll be so sick. Yeah. We'll start doing that in the future. And to finish it off, I went with Isaiah Yeo in at 13. Yeah. And this was hard for me because I also, like, Paddy Carrigan, I think, has had an incredible season. Even though the Broncos have been up and down this season, I feel like no matter what, he's consistently been amazing. His stats show it as well. But I think the difference on Isaiah Yeo, I was looking through Isaiah Yeo's stats the other day, and I know I pointed out, I think that Paddy Carrigan, for me, is the best lock in the game. But you also said Isaiah Yeo, and I was like, all right, I'll look into this a little bit more. Like, statistically, like, Isaiah Yeo is fucking incredible, bro. Like, 95% tackle efficiency, like 80-minute edge back roll if you lock if you want him to be. And he'll get through the hard stuff. He'll get you to the points of the field where you need to get to, but also defend with his heart. Like, he's incredible in the middle.
He's unmatched, bro.
Yeah,
unmatched.
He is. But honorable mention for me, Paddy Carrigan. And again, I love that Max Plath shout. I feel like that's a big one because I was noticing a lot of his work over the weekend for a smaller body that runs in the middle. He's a freak of the future, bro. He's a freak of the future.
He is. It's only his first real breakout season where he's cracked first gate. So that's, he's going to be massive for the future and that leadership role in the Dolphins, I reckon captaincy is down the line for sure for him.
Yeah. So not too many differences between our two sides. I would say Harry Grant for me at hooker, you had Blake Brayley, but I do agree Blake Brayley for me was an honourable mention, so we could chuck him in there. Isaiah Yeo the same. Homole Kawatu versus, who'd you have your other edge back roll, my bro?
Eli Katoa, brother.
Oh, far. I didn't
I
think
don't know how you went
there
past
as well.
Him, in all honesty.
Bro, I was actually going to make a video on my my personal channel about Ellie and his progression of what he went from to what he is now. And like the key points is like that try-saving tackle he had over the weekend, the two big efforts he had against us where he had a try-saver and then he obviously scored a try at Adam Pompey.
Yep.
Bro, he's up there for one of the best edge back rollers in the competition right now. There's so many good edge back rollers, but fuck, he's consistent and he's so good.
He's been on a terror this year, and I think Jerome Hughes is really getting the best out of him, and that system is just, fitting him so well. Who was your interchange player of the year?
My interchange player of the year, fuck, I didn't put it down. I could easily push out Terrell May and then run maybe, let's say, who do you chuck up in that front row position?
Now, brother. You got to think another one.
Think of another one? All right, off the top of my head. Oh, bro, this is a tough one. You're going to have to give me a little bit to think about this. If Dylan Walker wasn't injured so much as a Warriors fan,
it's not what ifs,
I honestly do believe.
What ifs.
Honestly, bro, this one's tough. This one's really, really tough. All right,
I got a guy who's playing tonight.
Who you got? Connor Watson?
Huh? Connor Watson.
He's
been an unreal interchange player of the year so far. Just to fix it, just wherever, whenever, just get it done.
Wherever, whenever, we're meant to
all right.
That rounds off our team for the season so far. Again, we had a lot of key points that we keyed in on there, like a lot of similar players and stuff, but it's good to see a little bit of variety there too, which a lot of years in past, it was pretty much just like this guy, but I feel like this is very open. You know what I mean? Yeah. I feel like it's very open this year. So it's really, really good to see. All right, moving on to before we get to our Punters Paradise and our State of Origin chat, guys, because I know you guys have all been sitting so patiently for that. Let's go through our State of Origin combined 13. So very similar as what we just did before, bro. Go from 1 to 13. You pick your combined 13 for this weekend, and it'll go up against my combined 13. So you're 1 to 13.
Well, you lead the way. You lead the way on this one.
Do you want me to lead the way?
Yeah, you lead the way.
All right, so guys, if you don't understand what a combined 13 is, it's pretty much like you see a lot of like EPL channels do it. It's in a combined 11. So you pick, for me, out of all the best players in those two teams, those two squads, and you put them all in the positions to create your best 13 in general. So number one, I went Reece Walsh. Out of the two, I know Dylan Edwards had a better career, but for me, if I was picking 1-for-1 fullbacks right now, I would pick Reece Walsh. Just the future, what he's got, and the attacking ability that I can get out of Reece Walsh, like, is lightning. So I've got Reece Walsh out fullback. In my wings positions, I've got Brian Toto. I think he's the simple, easy bang. You just put him in there, and he's just going to do an amazing job. This one might be controversial, but I had to push him in here because I felt like my center positions were so tight. I went with the hammer. I have to have the hammer in this team somewhere, and I pushed him to a wing. I have to, because just the ability for him just to break a game open with his speed, I feel like the team that I'm combining here, I need that. So the hammer's on my wing with Brian Toto. In the center positions, I've gone Latrell and Critter. I've gone with the sturdy defensive, just Critter leadership, and I've gone again with another game breaker. Getting with early ball, Reese's just tipping it on to him, bang. On the edge, the hammer is open on the wing. That's what I'm thinking in my head. I'm envisioning that. My halves pairing currently out of these two squads would be DC and Jerome Luai. I feel like out of the two, that's the best pairing I can really come up with. I'm interested to see what your thoughts. I think you probably have something similar, I'm guessing. Up front, I got Haas and Lindsay Collins. It's the mixture of, I've got Haas as the meter eater, get through his work. He's always going to be like that. But the origin player that Lindsay Collins is, that's what I need in the middle to plug holes. And, you know, like, as I said, linking up with our edges. He does all the little shit that people don't usually see. So I got to have him there. Number 9. This one's a tough one because this guy just, whenever he steps up into that position, he plays amazing. It's Benny Hunt. I'm going to have Benny Hunt in that number 9. Like, he's incredible there. My edge back rollers, all Blues. It's got Angus Crichton and Liam Martin. Again, these guys defensively will hold in for me, especially when I got someone like Reece out back. If there's any errors, I know these guys will defend those errors. But also, just you can turn a game with Liam Martin's defense. Like, I got to have him there no matter what. He's incredible. And my 13 for me, in an Origin game, I'm picking Paddy Carrigan because I don't think that I need a link man. I don't think I need someone like Isaiah being a link man there. I know Isaiah can go up and down and play amazing like that, but I think if we're going up and down, Paddy Carrigan has him beat as a direct football player that's going to just play off the back of Benny Hunt and these sort of boys. But that one could go 50-50 for me. So what's your 1 to 13, my brother?
Yeah, look, a lot of similarities, and look, you can make a case for 100% either of these teams or even your own selections. So I've gone with Dylan Edwards instead of Reece Walsh. And the reason why I've gone that is just there's sometimes an error in Reece Walsh's game. So he's either on or he's off, whereas you know what you're getting with Dylan Edwards. And there's enough strike in the rest of the team that I don't need all of that resolving just on my fullback, which is sometimes what Reece Walsh can bring to a team, is that you just depend on him and only him. So that's why I'm going to go with Dylan Edwards. He's just there. He's your meter eater, consistency. On my wings, I've gone Brian Toto. Well, there's no argument with Toto. You know, he's the best winger in the game, and I'll fight that to the death. And then I've gone no, not Carfelt. And then I've gone Xavier Coates. I thought you could potentially move Critter to a wing. But I think he's the best defensive center in the game. So I went Xavier Coates on the wing. His defense on the wing, his attack in the air, and his meters. Like, it's, no-brainer for me is Xavier Coates. And then I've gone with Critter and the hammer in the centers. I think the hammer 100% has to be there, but I think I'm going to go with him in the centers. And Critter, like I said, he's center of he's the best center in the game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then, yes, I went Jerome Luai and DCE. In this team, it's kind of hard to go away from that. But did in his potential to 100% be, one of the greats of Origin of all times. But he's so young still, and that's what everyone forgets.
He is. Yeah.
And then front rowers, I went with Payne Haas and I went with Ruben Cotter. I like the Lindsay Collins shout out. He's pretty much another Ruben Cotter. They're exactly the same. Cotter, for me, just gives me a bit more flexibility to play 80 and to
Odd edge
play
too.
back row.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's why I went with Cotter over Lindsay Collins, but I do love the Lindsay Collins shout out. I went with Benny Hunt at hooker. That's just a
Has to
no-brainer.
be. Yep.
I went with Angus Crichton and I went with Cam Murray on the edge. And I
Oh,
know
I
people are going to
like
be like, what
that.
about Liam Martin? And I know Liam Martin is an absolute beast, but attack-wise, Murray offers me a little bit more, and he's still got that defense. Probably not as aggressive as Liam Martin, but he's got solid defense. He gets me that quick play the ball, and he plays back row just as good as he does through the middle. Then that freed up for me to put Paddy Carrigan into lock. Whereas, I can't leave Cam Murray out. I chose Paddy, just especially for Origin, the Origin grit that he gives. And Isaiah is outstanding. And, he plays so much better for the Panthers than the Blues, in my opinion. But, that's no shit on him. He plays good for the Blues as well, but it just doesn't suit him as much as he doesn't have a big influence on the Blues as he does the Panthers, is what I'll call it. Whereas Paddy, when he puts on that Queensland jersey, he has even more influence over the team than he does for the Broncos. That's the reason why I went Paddy.
What's that? $11 odds for player of the match pretty much every game there. He's always juicy there. I feel like a lot of people are actually saying that, like, statistically, if like the Hammer and DC didn't have the games they did, like Paddy could have easily got player of the match there. So that could be a little juicy, little $11 dues, just bang, put it on there. That would be nice. But
it normally goes to a winning team though, bro. So
oh, here it is. Turn it up. Turn it up. Was it pretty interesting? Like, it is true. Like they contribute. Like the biggest pick I felt like for us overall would have been Walshy versus Edwards. And I think that's definitely the two key areas. Like there's two different ways you could look at those sort of things. You got Walshy that just plays, fuck it footy in a way. Like he's going to do his same shit every single time. It's going to come off. It's not going to come off. And then you got Dylan Edwards. You know what you're going to get with Dylan Edwards. 100%. He's going to do a job, get through his work rate. And I'll say defensively, he's definitely the better fullback out of the two. Because body, he's a bigger body. He tackles a little bit better than Reese. I'll say Reese probably, maybe, I'm not too sure who would probably direct, defensively a little bit better. I feel like Reese's mouth, he's a good talker. But Dylan Edwards with the Panthers, I'm sure their defensive, we know, their defensive system's unreal. So you could sway that way there too. I can really see the argument why you would go Dylan Edwards, especially when you got the strike everywhere else as well. Yeah. But I love it, bro. There wasn't too many differences. Lindsay Collins and Ruben Cotter, I agree. They're fairly similar, but with Cotter, you can chuck him on an edge if you have to. And, I'm sure that you could chuck Lindsay there if you really needed to too, you know what I mean? But
do the job.
We've seen it with Cotter, you know what I mean? Cotter, we've seen it before. I'm sure Cotter will play center if he needs to. And
he would, bro. He would. He'd play fullback.
If Latrell's tearing us up, just put the guy with a mullet out in the wing, and I'm sure he'll do a job out there.
He'll do the job for sure. Get rid of Holmes.
Get rid of Holmes, he reckons. Well, we might as well touch on our... Bro, we'll chat. We'll talk about it. What do you reckon? What do you reckon? So we'll go into our predictions and stuff, and then we'll go through our tips and stuff for the weekend. So Punter's Paradise, guys. As we know, before we go through all the sort of chat and all that for the weekend, gamble responsibly out there. Again, whatever you can. Like if you have a gambling problem, go sort out. Wherever you live. If you're in New Zealand, Australia, go to sort out the services out there to help you with the gambling problem. But gamble responsibly, guys. But Origin, brother, what's your thoughts? Go. What do you reckon? How are you going to attack us? Where you see points coming? And also tie that into maybe some value bets out there for the boys.
I think Luai will not do his whole run back in that you've seen a lot in game one. And that was due to the lack of being able to create the numbers, being down a man. So expect, Luai to link up with Edwards to create the extra man on that left side of the field. And I think they're really going to buy into Latrell and his presence. So I really think that we'll attack through, Angus Crichton. And I really think, Toto will go over in the corner. So a couple of little bets that I've got is I've got Dylan Edwards, man of the match, and I've got Brian Toto, anytime try scorer, and that is paying $14. And then for a try scorer multi, I've got Angus Crichton, I've got Xavier Coates, and I've got the Blues head-to-head, and that's paying $19.75. So, yeah, that is Xavier Coates anytime, because I think he is on the right side. So I think, Latrell can be a little bit lazy in defense, and I think he might slack off that little bit. Or, Queensland will snag one with a kick. And Coates is your target. And then I really think Luai will either get a little grubber kick through or a short ball for Angus Crichton to score. And I'm just going to go with the Blues to score. So that's $19. And on Sportsbet, again, they've got the any leg fail money back. So to me, that's juicy odds for just 2 try scorers and the Blues to win.
What is Angus Crichton at currently right now? $4.40,
He's at
bro.
$4.60. Oh, $4.60. I got him at, so.
$4.60. Fuck, man. Like, he's really good odds, especially if we're looking at both sides here. I really do believe that the best attacking side for the Blues would definitely be on that edge with Latrell, Angus Crichton, Luai, and Toto. I really do believe that. Even though you got some really good attacking points on that right-hand side with Moses, Zach Lomax and stuff like that, I do believe that going left, like you got Angus Crichton. There's a lot of stats out there for like left side edge back rollers in game 2 scoring tries for the Blues. The Blues have had major success in game 2s, especially in Melbourne this year. So those are really good odds for a lot of those like markets out there. Do you have a player of the game market, my brother? What do you reckon for player of the game?
Yep.
You there, my bro? You might be a little bit behind.
Yeah. It was Dylan Edwards and Toto to any time tries.
Well, you might be just cutting out, my brother. I'm not too sure what's going on there.
Yeah, you got me.
All right. Ooh. Yep. You're looking good. Oh, keep talking.
I don't know what to do.
Nah, you're right, bro. You're good. You're good. I can hear you talk.
Yeah. Right. Yep. Having trouble.
I've got you talking. Yeah, your pitch is a little bit off, so maybe there we go. You're a little bit better now. I can see you move. Am I gone? I should still be here.
Yep. You're not there.
Yep. Can you hear me? I can definitely hear you, my brother. What do I do?
Yo, we good?
You back? Can you see me?
Yeah, I think I can see you. I couldn't see you for a second, but we're good?
Yeah, we're good. I've got you here. All
right.
You're moving.
Good. Yeah. All right.
Oh, Jazzy, tell the missus to stop streaming Netflix, bro.
Oh, bro.
Oh,
once the Warriors awesome, downstairs in a second. Nah, just kidding. Just kidding.
Brother, player of the game. What do you reckon? What do you got for player of the game?
Yeah, I went Dylan Edwards, player of the game, and Toto anytime in a multi. And that was $14. So Edwards is paying $8. $8, a bit over $8. I just think it'll be a really telling performance. He'll want to prove himself that he sat out of game 1 with an injury for a reason, because he wanted to be full strength for the line break and potential try assist. So,
no, I like it, brother. I like it. I like it a lot.
What are you leaning towards?
So I've got a couple of singles that I have going on, my bro, and one of them is a lot of value. And again, like I just see that I feel like a lot of this game is dictated on both those edges of Valentine Holmes, of Latrell Mitchell, that sort of stuff. But I've got Jeremiah Nenai for first try scorer. I just chucked $5 on that. It was $20 odds. They gave me $100 off of that. So that'll be nice to really early on in the game. I could see probably a kicking threat, maybe a little option there over the top. And really, Jeremiah Nenai to come out with the chockies to get the first try scorer. I thought that was really good value there for a noted first try scorer. And then Latrell Mitchell. Latrell Mitchell is still at 240. Well, he was at 240. I'm sure that's going to get eaten up. But just that head-to-head, bro, like I had to jump on that. $2.30 currently right now. A guy that always seems to have big origin moments, and he's definitely been the talk of the town coming into this game. Valentine Holmes, we all know that the defensive moments he's had this year, it's been pointed out a lot, like he's probably not had his best season defensively. Attacking-wise, he's still been Valentine Holmes, probably a little bit more errors into his game. But I still think that he's going to have his hands full there with Latrell Mitchell. I feel like that's the storyline of the game. What do you reckon? It's Latrell versus Valentine Holmes, and whichever of those two boys step up, it really dictate this game.
I think you're onto it, bro. There, I think Nanai is definitely a good one. And I like the multi that just got posted up there. Latrell first, second, or third. Walsh and Angus anytime. That's an outstanding multi. We had one of our boys send through Dylan Edwards, Reece Walsh, Lomax, and Hammer all to score anytime. I can't see the odds on it though; it's cut out. But I could see that happening. I don't really see if New South Wales are going to win. They're going to have to back their defense. So I don't see a lot of points coming from Queensland if New South Wales are going to win, but I definitely do like that matchup between Latrell and Valentine, especially the way that DC shoots out of the line. If he gets that wrong, he's really going to open up Latrell to expose Valentine one-on-one and either give him the big don't argue or Toto will crash over in the corner. So I think Latrell will definitely be used as a bit of a decoy to start the game, knowing that they're going to want him, and then that'll open him up down the line. I reckon you'll start to see him get really involved, probably 25 in.
And that's why I think Angus Crichton is definitely a big play in this game. I really do think that like Latrell is going to cause a lot of traffic there. And I think Luai, as you said, I think he will use his outside man a little bit more. Whenever he has Latrell outside of him in Origin, he seems to give him good early ball. Even though Luai's been coming off his left foot a lot lately and playing back for the middle, I think when he has players like Latrell outside of him, he's smart enough to understand how to play those guys. And his short kicking game is a very underrated part of his game as well. So that little nudging behind when DCE pumps up well too quickly could really open up opportunities for Latrell to chase him behind or Angus Crichton chasing him behind. So I could see that happening. Even Brian Toto.
Yeah, I would be doing that very early if I was Jerome Luai. Really set the tone that if you shoot, I'm going to grab him behind. So expect one of the first couple of sets for a little kick to be in behind, especially if they do catch Reece Walsh at marker or in that A defense, as the fullbacks like to do nowadays, when we're 10, 20 out attacking. Expect Lua to put a little kick through, and don't be surprised if Angus Crichton's there to score either first or second try scorer, because I think they will notice. Surely they can notice DC shoots out of the line. It's there every Origin game, and they never capitalize on it. So expect that little kick in early just to buy them some more time, because at the end of the day, the key is to get that ball to Latrell nice and early with some space, and the best way to stop shooting defense is to put that little kick in behind. So expect that early. That's what I'll be doing if I was a half. And just on that, I did see some little news. I don't know if it's a tactic as from the Blues, but they're saying that Mitch Moses potentially has a bit of a foot injury and he's going to be stepping down from a bit of the kicking duties. So is that just to buy him a bit more space, thinking that he's not going to do the general play kicking? Or do you reckon there is a bit of truth behind that? I reckon that's just a bit of tactics to say that, Luai's going to do our kicking, Latrell's going to come and do our kicking, and then they'll just find Moses a bit more time to get those kicks away cleanly. What do you think about that?
Is that the classic, the boys are coming in injured play and where, the little early, not the early excuse ones like Harry Grant having the flu. But I agree. Maybe it is more so to take the pressure off of if fans see that Luai is going to get a lot more of the kicking range of what's sort of going on there and the reason why he's attacking that way, and sort of like preemptively playing the media, if that makes sense. So after the game, 100%. Not everyone's going to go in and freaking Mitchell Moses kicking game or whatever this weekend when the directive probably is to Luai to take over. So whether or not we see how to the extent of the foot injury, that's a really interesting thought there too. When I saw that, I was like, do we start looking at attacking him a lot like Mitchell Moses, especially in defense? If there's a foot hampering him, maybe or his movement a little bit. Jaden Saw on his side, start playing short ball. But what I would say to that, we saw Mitchell Moses go up against Dave Fifita in the last Origin, and he did a great job on Dave Fifita, I thought, in that Origin game. So defensively, I think he's going to be up for it, especially pairing up with Critter. The one thing I would say to that too, bro, to this whole conversation, because we'll round this off and then we'll move into our tips and stuff for the weekend. But is there, watching a lot of Billy Slater and watching Queensland, the way they've been attacking Critter locked us down last game, but I've noticed a tendency just watching tape and stuff like that of Critter, him overworking sometimes in the middle because he is a defensive freak. Like he trusts in himself that he can defense. He works inside a lot more, but gets caught in marker a lot. You remember the KP try, or is it a try assist? Was it last year, the year before? Marker, Crichton was brought in, he got caught at marker, and we were attacking down that edge as soon as that. There's a key in that because I've seen that a lot happen with Stephen Crichton a lot in the past, whether that could be an option, especially with the hammer playing down that side. I don't know if it'll be. I think Critter's grown since then. I do think that, but Billy has keyed in on little areas of everyone's game. Do you reckon that could open up a little bit of a deficiency down at edge? Do you reckon he'll do a job there, especially with Zach Lomax outside of him as well? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
It's very hard to get a center, first of all, to marker, second of all, then to chase open. Because if you're trying to set up that's a three play play that you're going to take 3 play the balls to get that. You need to go the first one at him to get him to marker, and then you need to hit the second one back to that open side, but not too far to get him intrigued into marker again to open up that space on the left, and then you got to really capitalize on it. So there's a lot that goes into that. But if Critter has really grown in defense, like I think he has, he won't overchase on that second play. That other man in that tackle will either be Moses or that back rower, and it's their job to go inside, and he's really got to stay as that second marker that watches a hooker. But yeah, I could definitely see that happening, but it takes a lot to get that involved. You almost need a half line break, quick play the ball to catch a center out of position that way. But it's definitely something that I think Billy would have noticed. If they're going to try and attack down that left edge, it's something that they're going to have to do is how they get Critter out of his defensive structure. Other than that, it's kind of not lost attacking down that edge, but it makes it a lot harder. That's where Queensland probably need to start looking at the kicks in behind. But yeah, I think they really need to maybe even push Sua out one and get him to run that lead shape back in between Moses and Critter. Then potentially try and get that about 10, 20 in from the sideline and then play that shot. So that's definitely on there. That's what I would be trying to tee up if I'm Dearden on that left edge. And Dearden does love a good show and go as well. So expect that from Dearden. So I think Dearden can adjust on the run. He's a really eyes up footy player. He plays eyes up. And if, he could definitely get it, especially with the new combination there again with Critter and Moses compared to game one. But yeah, I like that. That's good. That's good noticing. I really do think that you could get something out of there. If you're going to try and attack Critter, that's definitely how you could do it. That's really good spotting, Ash.
And also, like, adding on to, like, Mitchell Moses with his foot injury, like, I do believe that Critter will have more knowledge in his inside than he does anything. And just coming from our system, coming from the Panthers system, it's very, you follow the inside. Usually it's like in, then work out. Well, it's more of like attacking in, and then like your wingers dart in to cut off a lot of space and stuff like that. So your center covers in and shifts out. But also like another thing I was just thinking of is the interception threat of, we have Reece, obviously. Reece loves he's a gunslinger. He's just going to make it work. Now the Blues have 2 big options either end that both have an intercept in their repertoire. Latrell, I've seen it like multiple times in Origin. He can pull that something out of nothing, and Critter is just known for it. Do you think that will hamper Reece at all, or you just expect Reece just to be Reece and just, throw it out there and just see what happens? Or he'll play it smart. Like Reece knows what he's doing, right? Like he sees like how players, like their shoulders are turned in and out, like the way he throws his options. But there's an interception threat, I feel, on both sides here now, and that worries me a tiny bit. Have you dipped out again, my bro?
A little bit, yeah. But, as you touched on, like Reece's not with the league. And, the players with that cutout pass now, they're gone. Fuck.
You're right, bro.
I'm not sure what's happening, brother.
You're just catching up to me now, I think.
I don't know if everyone else can hear me or if you...
We can hear you, bro. It's just a little bit delayed. That's all. It's a little bit delayed.
Well, I'll just talk, and I think with Walshy, he'll top pass. That the floater. Okay, the floater pass more so to escape the threat of Critter and Latrell. So I cut out, but expect him to just try and give early ball. So that's what I reckon.
Yeah, 100%, bro, 100%. All right, are we back? I think we're back proper, but it spoke all the way through. It was all good. Are we back or good? I think we are. I think you're dipping out again. That's all good. As soon as you catch up to me, my bro,
Okay, sweet as.
we'll run through our tips for the weekend. Are we up there?
I'm
Are we
not sure
back?
what's happening tonight.
That's all right, my man. That's all right. We'll make our way through. Very close, guys. So overall origin thoughts. Brodie's got a couple of really nice multis out. I really do like the value of someone like an Angus Crichton or whatever running into this weekend. Dylan Edwards as a player of the match. I love that. Coming off of the injury, I think he's got something to prove, especially with all the chat of him versus Teddy coming into the game. That's really good chat there too. I love the thought of Toto, and I really do believe that left side of the Blues versus the right side of the Maroons is definitely going to be the big focus point in this game. But really, really excited to see how the Maroons combat the new addition of Latrell Mitchell back into the side. All right, moving on to the weekend, my brother.
Just a heads up though,
I think
who
we're back.
actually... Oh, we're back?
Are you good? Are we back?
Probably not. Are we back?
I think you're there.
No. Fuck's sake.
Don't stress, my bro. Don't stress.
I'm there? No, I don't think I'm there.
If you hear me now, bro, just maybe drop out and then.
But yeah, heads up in
link.
the chat if you jumped on. All right. No, it's fucking something's going on.
All right, my homies. While Brodie sorts that out, unfortunately, it might be an internet problem. It could be multiple different things going on there, but we'll start talking about our tips for the weekend, then I'll get Brodie's tips obviously coming in when he gets back onto the show. I do apologize, guys, and I'm sure Brodie is like, fuck, what's going on? I feel for him, man. I really do feel for him. He's very early into doing all this sort of stuff, so appreciate him, obviously, trying his hardest to get on and all that, but Punter's Paradise goes, guys, over the tips of the weekend. Jazzy, bad omen for Brodie. I think it's glitching out. The Blues are glitching out. Oh, don't tie us into being a Blues thing, guys. All right, so the first game of the weekend. Oh, before we jump into this, our last week's tips. I only got 2 out of 5 last week. Obviously, my Warriors not getting it over the top of the Titans really hampered me. I picked the Raiders. The Raiders were a pretty disappointing outfit over the weekend. And the Dogs. I thought the Dogs were able to get it done over the Roosters, but unfortunately not able to do so due to injuries last off and all that. But running into this weekend, the first game of the weekend, we got the Doggies versus Sharkies, and this is at a core stadium. There's a really cool stat out there for the Doggies and, winning majority of their home games. I think they haven't lost a home game yet this season. So that's a really big key stat for the Doggies. And defensively, they've been absolutely unreal. I do believe they can withstand the barrage from the Sharkies. Brodie, are you back? I think he's a little bit behind again. I think he might be a little bit behind again. But yes, this will be a massive game for the weekend. I think it's a massive game for Nico Hines. I think, for Nico to try and get back into that Blues argument, he'll probably have a decent game here. You there, bro?
I think so. No.
Here we go.
Just continue on without me.
You're good. In this one, I'm swaying the way to Dogs. I really do believe that defensively they'll be able to hold up with the Sharkies. I feel like the value of the Doggies is really, really nice. And again, I don't think they've lost a home game yet this season. So that's a really big key point to come into this. $2.52 you'll get at the Doggies on Sportsbet. So if you're betting through Sportsbet, that could be the way to go. You're looking a lot better now, Brodie. I think you might be back. Are you there?
I'm scared.
You are back. You're
right.
back. Doggies versus Sharks, bro. Let's go through it.
Oh, quickly before I dip out, raise their hands in the chat. Who got on our Melbourne multi last week? Because you would have got up. Yeah. Melbourne 1-12, Will Warbrick, and Jermaine Osako. You would have had a nice return if you got on it last week. Please tell me somebody in the chat did.
Massive. Please, guys, let us know in the chat if you've got on the bets over the weekend, because, yes, that Melbourne one was very, very juicy. Shout out to Brodie for hitting us up with some nice value for the weekend. But Doggies versus Sharks, brother. What do you reckon?
Yeah,
you can't go past your Dogs, eh?
Nah, I'm going with the doggies, and my multi is I'm in a rush now. My doggies, my tip is either team 12 points or less, and
Mhm.
Jarrell Skelton and Sione Katoa to score anytime, and that's 625.
Ooh. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. For me, seeing the doggies in that, they're obviously going to attack down that left edge, probably really try to target Nico Hines defensively and all that. Britton Accordo will do a great job there too, try to hamper that. But having someone like Kikau back, is it Kikau? Kikau's been named, right? He's back and ready to go.
Yeah, he played
I
last
think he was
week,
back last
so
week. He was back last week.
he's back to run on this week though.
Yeah.
Oh, he
So
played run on last week, but he's back to full strength this week.
I might look at around his ways too. I'll be really excited to see how he goes out there. So I'm tipping the doggies in this one. Again, as I said before, $2.52. That's pretty nice at Sportsbet, guys. So it's probably a good one head to head. And as Brody said, really nice value in that game for the weekend. Next up, the Wars, baby. We got the Wars. Redemption, hopefully. We got the Wars versus the Broncos, brother. This is in Auckland. The only big notable out for us, obviously, is no Sean Johnson due to the injury or whatever you really take with that. But hopefully Shaunie's okay, and hopefully mentally he is okay. With the Broncos, they've named pretty much all their origin players on the reserves. With us, we've named our origin players in our starting squad, so it looks like they will be playing for us. Do you expect the Broncos boys to back up, flying over to New Zealand after this big one?
I think they're going to be desperate, and I think they will. And it'll
Okay.
depend on how much minutes they get through tonight. But I think the Broncos are desperate to worry about their own season. So I think Walters will tell them, yeah, first thing tomorrow morning, get on a plane. We need you here. So expect that they won't want to lose to a team that's going to be hungry in the Warriors after that thumping. So I expect most of those players to back up.
For me, I am going with the Warriors on this weekend. I think that we need to do something, bro. We need to do something. We need to show something. And hopefully with Tamati Martin back at the helm, we do get to see that little stint that what he had pre, all the big boys coming back, where he had the team and the ball on the string. He had 7 try assists within those 3 games. Like, he was wheeling and dealing out there. I can see us really attacking Ezra Mam. If you go and checked out All You Can Eat, guys, I said my full thoughts on this game, where we need to attack. Ezra Mam is the worst defensive 6 in the competition. Statistically, it shows every game plan for any team going up against the Broncos to attack somewhere is Ezra Mam and Brendan Piakota. I expect us to go that way with Murata Niokore and really, really put a lot of pressure on that side. So I would love to see Murata Niokore with the Warriors. I think that's definitely the bet for the weekend. What's your thoughts, brother?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Broncos, and I'm going to go I just can't back a team that got beaten by 60 to then somewhat turn it around. And I hope they do. I really hope they do. But I'm going to go the Broncos especially if their players do back up. So my multi for this one is either team again, 12 points or less. And I'm going with Chance and Katsoni Staggs to score anytime. And that's paying $13.25.
I like that. I like that a lot. Moving on to the next game of the weekend, brother. We got the Knights versus the Parramatta Eels. This is at McDonald Jones Stadium. Big key ins for this one. I think the biggest one for the Knights is Will Price playing in that 6 jersey. Have you seen a little bit of Will Price about, like, he's played a little bit of Super League in that?
Yeah, I have seen his highlights, especially leading into this game. I think, he'll be good. It'll take a time to obviously build his system, but as an individual talent, he looks the goods. Just depends on how he slots into that system. With that said, though, I am backing the Eels.
Yeah, I'm running on the Eels as well. I think the Eels are going to become very desperate, and I do feel like the Knights are, again, find themselves chop and changing. But I do love the matchup. The matchup I'm keen for. I haven't got any bets on it and that, but the matchup I'm really keen to watch. Bradman Best versus Will Benassini. I think that's going to be an amazing centre matchup on the weekend. So do watch out for that one. Moving on to the Melbourne Storm versus the Raiders. This is at Melbourne. So any chance of the Raiders bouncing back here, brother?
Nah, I could have put the house on them in that last game against the Tigers, and they were just disappointing. So I cannot back them. I think Melbourne should run through them, but I dare say Melbourne will do Melbourne things and win 1-12. So it's just that season for Melbourne.
Seems to be one of those seasons. Is there any opportunity with the Raiders being somewhat of a bogey team
Oh,
for the Melbourne
look,
Storm?
yeah, they are. They are. They always are. You know, they've got middles to run with Melbourne and the system that Melbourne played. They're definitely a threat because they do love to go through the middle, Canberra, so they can match it with Melbourne there. But I think the likes of Hughes will be too classy for the Raiders, young halves. Even though shout out to KO Weeks, he's absolutely killing it. And as I did mention him to be a potential Jerome Hughes in the future, but I still think Hughesy will take this one.
Yeah, 100%, bro. So, yeah, we're going to go with Melbourne. Both of us are on Melbourne for that one. Next game, we got the Dragons versus the Dolphins at Netstrata Jubilee. So, a Dragons home game here. Obviously, Jack Bostock out due to the head knock over the weekend. So, Tessie New comes into the lineup here for the Dolphins. And they are naming all their Origin players to back up in this game. This is on a Sunday, so they should be able to back up from a Sunday. And with the Dragons, again, top to bottom, their Origin players have all been named. What's your thoughts on this game? Which way can you see it going? Dragons at home at $1.94 to $1. It's 50-50 here. What are your thoughts?
I'm going to go the Dolphins to win, and I'm going to go Hammer and Herbie anytime try scorers. I don't know what the odds are. I haven't teed up that one, but that's what I think will happen in this game.
Yeah. See, I've gone the opposite. I think the Dragons at home are going to be really, really hard to stop. Even though the Dolphins have been in great form lately, I think it's going to be a close game. And thinking from, was it early on this season or was it last year? I think it was last year that the Dragons ended up getting it over the top of the Dolphins. I know different teams, but the Dragons always seem to have really good ability at home. So I'm swaying away to the Dragons, but again, it's a 50-50 game for me. I do believe that it can go either way. Were you thinking it that way? You're saying 1-12 or nah? What do you reckon? Do you reckon the Dolphins will put a scoreline on them?
Nah. With the Hammer back in, I think the Dolphins will run away with it. They got so much threat. He had so much threat. So I'm going to say the Dolphins, 13 plus.
Spark, bro. Spark of the Dolphins. Tyrell Sloan versus the Hammer. That's going to be a sick matchup there. Obviously, two very, Sloaney attacking football. That's going to be interesting.
Unmatched speed.
Sweet. Moving on to the Panthers versus the Cowboys at Bluebet Stadium. So Panthers home game, my brother. Jeremiah Nenai won't be backing up for this game. The news coming out that they are looking to rest him due to that calf niggle they were talking about. Coming into this game, we're not too sure how bad that is. But for Todd Payton to resting, Jeremiah Nenai before this game shows maybe that he is worried about fitness there. So Dylan Edwards fills in there. They should be able to back up Sunday. Panthers too strong at home?
Panthers too strong at home. I think Panthers get the job done again. The Cowboys, they got attacking threat through their points, but they just can't defend. They just struggle defense-wise. As for my internet, I actually jumped on the Wi-Fi now, finally. I was actually on my missus' work sim, so that's why the internet actually dropped out. So now I'm on the Wi-Fi. Hopefully it does hold out.
So the odds of you jumping on phone internet is fairly high.
Nah, I think my home internet should hold out. It should be good.
Yeah, I love it, my brother. And then last but not least, we got the Tigers versus the Roosters at Allianz. The Roosters at Allianz are a tough team to go up against there. The Roosters wheeling and dealing. They've got all their Origin players named there. The interesting one, Satili Tupanua is named in that center position. That's a really interesting one. Obviously losing no Michael Jennings. They have no Billy Smith and no Joseph Suoli'i to fill in that spot there. Could there be any opportunity here for the West Tigers to get over the top of the Roosters?
No. As good as they were last week, Roosters 20 plus, 100% Lockie. I was going to say dead on 20%, 20 plus. 20 plus. Roosters just too strong. They'll really put that flame out real quick for the Tigers, I think. Unfortunately, I would love to see the Tigers, but I think the Roosters would be too strong, especially if it's a dry track. They really benefit from a dry track. Yeah,
and I think this is a massive test for Dewey. Second game back off injury. He's got the man, Joe Manu, in front of him. It's going to be a sick matchup there, in my opinion. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure Dewey was on that left side, right? I think Naden posted up on that, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So that's going to be an interesting one. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think the Roosters are just a bit too hot to trot at the moment for the West Tigers, but I think we both agree we would love to see the Tigers get over the top of them. Am I missing any notable ins here? Looks like that in the reserves, John Bateman is named in the reserves. Maybe there's an opportunity for John Bateman to comes in. Does that change anything for you at all?
No, if anything, that probably makes it worse, in my opinion. He would buy into
Another
the shit
change.
from Hargraves, from Radley. That would really get under his skin, and the Tigers probably end up playing with 12. So, yeah, leave him out.
All right, my brother. That's pretty much it for the weekend. Any other value bets? Do you have any head-to-heads, any big multis for the weekend? Any other games here? Everything's
it's a bit on this week. That's kind of all I've really had time for. Is what I've touched on already. Hopefully I can get you guys up again. I know I didn't see too many hands in the chat, so I don't know if I'll hit again for you guys, but hey, you got to be in it to win it. But hey, as Ash touched on, gamble responsibly. It's not worth it. At the end of the day, just a bit of fun, even chuck $1 on it. But yeah, look, get on it if you can, and hopefully you reap the benefits that you missed out on last week.
Bro, another amazing show here in the books. Episode number 3 of Down Unders, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed Punter's Paradise. A lot of value out there. Brody, hit us up in the comment section with your bets and stuff like that for anyone to ride on this weekend. So feel free, guys. If you're jumping on the bets, I'll probably get Brody to jump into the comment section and chuck his bets down there. Also, guys, make sure you tune in. We are doing a watch along pretty much straight after this stream here. Give me about 10 or so minutes before me and Levon to get together. And then we're going to run it into the State of Origin watch along, the Blues versus the Maroons. Brody, any last words before the State of Origin game number 2?
No send-offs, please. Let's just have a good game. Let's just no excuses for either team. Let's just have a good game. Let's just say that. And let the better team win. All right?
100%, my brother. 100%. But good job tonight, my man. And I appreciate the extra effort it is to jump around with all those internet connection issues and stuff like that and come back in strong to the end of the show. So just shows the dog that's in this man. Up the doggies for the weekend. Up the Warriors. And up the Maroons, baby. Up the Maroons for the weekend here, guys. Hope you guys enjoy. Get on your multis. Make sure you chuck in a chat if you got up on the multis for the weekend as well. Appreciate every single one of you guys. Let's go. Later, guys. All right, we